Sorry for the CRT whine, there's a few CRTs in the background, and yeah. Okay, so this is the Sega Megadrive synthesizer. Yeah, Cosmo 4 operator YM20612. It's based on the Gen MDM cartridge. There's been a few differences and changes with this. It's never actually been displayed at all. It's been sat in storage for quite a while. The reason being, well, the main reason is the keyboard was being used for something else. If you follow my no computer malarkey, you'll know that this keyboard, this specific one right here, has been through the mill. It started as I built it for the Furby organ, and I used it for a good few years as the keyboard for my modular synthesizer that I play at shows. And I built the Sega Megadrive synthesizer to fit on top of this with the intention of building a new keyboard for the synth. But at the time that didn't actually happen, and I ended up using this keyboard for a couple of years with the synth, and this never really fitted with anything else. It was really hard to kind of display with anything because it takes up a lot of space when laid down, and it doesn't really work very well, and it needs to be sat up, and it was just made for this keyboard basically. Well, recently I've built a new keyboard kind of base module case for the modular synth that I play shows and play live with, so it has freed up this keyboard back to going on to this this Sega synthesizer. The original videos, there's two of them, I think, is below on this machine. It's a couple of years old. You'll notice that I've lost the side cheeks. I've just bolted some bits of wood on the side, but it's fine. It is what it is. There's another few reasons why it hasn't been displayed. I'll just talk about those now. The first thing was there was a bunch of wires dangling around this point of it. There was an extra circuit board that sat going straight into the joystick port of number 2. This was quite easy to remove and walk off with. My worry is these aren't stocked many places, and it's quite hard to, nowadays it was reasonably hard to get hold of them. It's not impossible, but it's a little bit hard to get hold of the MIDI converter for this. So I was worried that was going to get nicked or walked off with. And then also the cartridge, easy to pull out and remove, another thing. Likely it would have been fine, but you just never know. You get some plonkers every so often, so you got to watch out. So what I did was today, earlier today, I removed the panel and I cut a hole, and I've gone inside. I've used an extension wire to go to the joystick port, so everything's internal there now. So it goes off, there's a Kenton MIDI merger around here. The wire that goes to the MIDI out, so it used to go out of the MIDI out into the Sega Megadrive controller. Well, now it comes out of the Kenton MIDI thing straight into the back of there. It's just dangling in there, so it does the job. It does two things. It neatens up the display, the way it looks, but it also just stops it from getting somebody walking off with it. And I've also 3D printed this little clamp. I'm going to call it the security clamp. It's a bit rough around the edges, but as you can see, what that does is it basically just holds the cartridge in place. I know you may think, oh, but what if it doesn't load properly and you need to pull it out and blow on it? Well, the instances that has happened, it hasn't happened with this whole setup yet, so it's not a problem. The worst that happens is you just need to undo the screws. And obviously, of course, somebody could just undo the screws, but with anything here, somebody could just undo the screws. It's merely a deterrent. You know, somebody walking around with screwdrivers and twisting it is obviously gonna, it's just gonna slow down the fear of, it being walked off with something that's reasonably hard to replace. So if you look at the second video on this, the polyphonic video, well, you'll know it's polyphonic. There's a control over here. You flick it over, so you can flick through the different voices. They're all signified by the LEDs here. So voice 1, voice 2. These are the adjustment pages. So if you're on voice 1 and you're playing voice 1 on the keyboard, then all of the knobs are assigned to adjust for voice 1. Voice 2, all the knobs are adjust for voice 2, voice 3, voice 4, blah, blah, blah. But you have to adjust the voices with the MIDI channel selector on the keyboard. I'm going to write a little README, a quick start guide. The issue is for some reason, I think I might have adjusted the MIDI channel code at some point in this keyboard, so the poly mode isn't actually working in a minute, which is, well, I'll get to that. it's enough for now because I've got a lot of jobs to get ready for the open season, which is not this weekend, but it starts next weekend, the weekend after. So it's going to be monophonic at the minute, and it's usually best just to keep this on channel 1, this on channel 1, just play the monophonic mode because it hasn't got a sequencer going into it. Of course, there's still the ability to play it with a sequencer, but for, you know, people just walking around, just wanting to come and see it or play on it, then, you know, like, you get a taster for it. The only real reason to plug in a sequencer and stuff, if somebody really wants to go to town with it and spend a few hours on it, and by all means, bring a sequencer along and plug it in. There's a couple of plugs around the back of it, so if you want to do that, then by all means, come and do that. There's a headphone output coming straight from the Sega Megadrive, which I have since building this, actually bolted it down. Funnily enough, it was only stuck in when it was in the video. This was only stuck onto it with double-sided tape. Obviously that failed, so now it's bolted on. So there's headphones, just for here and there. We'll unplug this in a second because we're going to get a direct recording. But yeah, the main thing about this is it's bolted in, thought about a few problems and things coming up, and it's there for people to play on. So let's see what kind of sounds it can do. Bear in mind it's reasonably cut back with its functionality because you're only on a keyboard, so and there's no no poly mode right now, so you've only really got monophonic mode. So let's have a go. Right, let's give it a go, shall we? Changing the algorithms. That is algorithm 7, so we've got 1 which is all the algorithms are written around here. Turn up the sustain. So the top operator, which is this one in algorithm 6, is controlling all 3 of these operators. Well, if anything, it's good for some funky effects. Or if you slow down the attack of a couple of the operators. Interesting. Brilliant. Ooh, metallic. I find it. Oh, it is working. Oh. Here we go, wait for it. Oh, that's the one. We've got some delayed operation coming in, really slow delay operation. Oh, that's noise. Oh, I just love it for noise. That's what it's for. This is the thing, the noise. So yeah, anyway, if you want to come and play on this, it's available to be played on now because it's finally set up. I'm going to double check the actual MIDI arrangements and where they're designated because I think there's a couple of them that might actually be mixed up. I think that operator 3 might actually be operator 4. I'll look into that and give it another looking, but you know, provided it's still working when you come along, it will be here. There is never any guarantees of anything working if you come, but there's a good chance that something will be working, and hopefully there's a good chance that this, fingers crossed, this will be working. So yeah, that is the Sega Megadrive finally set up and ready to be played on. Have a lovely time.